Hey, Tim, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Lauren?
Tim and I have known each other for a very, very long time. If you see us like sparring a little bit up here, it's not personal.
And it's meant to be provocative and to call out the elephants in the room that you're all thinking about, but maybe are a little uncomfortable talking about. And so we're going to bring different perspectives to the conversation in such a way that we can talk about some of those challenges.
And we're going to give some examples.
Yes. So why don't we start by introducing ourselves, Lauren?
Great, thanks. Lauren Cooney, and I think Wendy did a great job already introducing me, so I'll leave it there because I know we're tight on time.
And your Twitter handle, because we don't have them up here?
L. Cooney, Cooney.
And I'm Tim Crawford, and my Twitter handle is tcrawford. I want to start with a statistic. And how many of you are familiar with the Davos event that's been taking place over this week? So a fair number of you. There was a story that came out, and diversity is one of the topics this year being discussed at Davos. And the statistic is, and I want to make sure I say this correctly, and this is where you need to make sure you follow me on Twitter or follow Women in Cloud hashtag, because I will tweet you a link for the story. If you look at leadership roles, there are more people named John than there are women in leadership roles. Think about that for just a minute. That's a problem. That's a big problem. And we've seen some of the stats in the presentations. So why don't we jump into the first of our two topics, which is around communication and some of the challenges with communication. And this can be particularly sensitive for women too, especially in tech. And Lauren, I know you have a story you'd love to start us off with and share.
So I'm the one that shares the stories, evidently. Just don't get me in trouble with any of my former employers. So let's talk about communication. I think I had a great conversation with a woman in the speaker's lounge about how she was told from her leadership and her team that she had sharp elbows, right? And I'm like, ugh. That's not the right kind of feedback. You can have sharp elbows if the person you're communicating with has sharp elbows too, or is willing to kind of dialogue in that way. If they're not, it won't be a successful conversation. So make sure that you put stuff into context. So my little story is I was at a very big company in a high potential program for leadership, and they brought in these communication experts. And these communication experts basically flat out told us that because you're women, you're gonna have to communicate more softly. You're gonna have to be, I think it was like quiet when entering a room. I was in heels, and he commented on how my heels were too high. It was not that long ago. And just on and on and on. And I just don't want you guys to think it's like that. And you don't have to put up with that BS, to be honest. Like, push back, say something. It's okay. Just say it in the right way.
I think the one thing that I would add to that is that, and I can say this, I think many of you in the room might be uncomfortable saying this, but when we talk about technology, and especially men in technology, let's just call out the elephant in the room. It's an old boys club, right? You've probably heard that before. It's really unfortunate that that's the case, and I think in some ways generations will start to change that. But what you have to figure out individually is how do you best navigate through those different personas? And that's really important. It was mentioned in one of the earlier sessions that you have to figure out who you are, and that's incredibly important. Figure out who you are, what you stand for, what's important to you, what your values are, and find organizations and leaders, whether they're men or women, find those folks and seek them out that match your values, that are seeking your type of persona. Don't try and put the square peg in the round hole. You are who you are. We're all individuals. One of the things that I would do as a leader in different organizations is I would look across my teams and find different personas. And I realize I'm a little odd in this sense. I'm probably a lot odd for those that know me really well. Shh, no comments. But the thing that I would do is I would look for unique personalities and unique personas. Didn't matter what the gender was, I didn't care. It didn't matter to me. What I was looking for was diversity in thought. And if you look at the way that each of you have been raised, the way that each of you have experienced different things, that's a unique perspective. And it's those unique perspectives that we have to embrace and find ways to collaborate and bring closer together. And that's incredibly important.
I think that leads us into the next topic, which is we have to run through a little quickly, but we will be totally available after the session to chat if you want to. The last one is really about politics and how do you play politics? Because to be honest, you're going to have to play them. I was the person that entered into the workforce and was managing people at the age of 23 and was just like, I'm going to be no bullshit. I'm going to be, the hardest working person, and I'm not going to play politics. Oh, it's such a failure. You really just have to learn to play them in a way that you're okay with. Tim, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think the other piece, and I have attended a number of women in tech type of conferences, and this one is a unique opportunity. So I'm glad to see that you're here, and so many folks are here, both men and women. But one of the things that's really important that I hear in other ones that isn't coming up here is you got to pound your fist on the table to be heard. You don't. Again, stand your ground, be firm, understand the situation, understand who you're talking to, understand who you're interacting with, regardless of whether it's a man or a woman, and stand your ground. Have that conversation in a meaningful way, and that's incredibly important. And what it does is it starts to create an even keel in terms of you're not trying to overcompensate, which can be seen in a negative way, but it also allows you to have that voice that we were just hearing about from Gretchen and others before that earlier. It allows your voice to be heard, and that's incredibly important. The second thing that I'll just say real quickly is it's important to find an advocate, especially in tech. And what I mean by an advocate, especially for a woman, find a male advocate that has a similar viewpoint that diversity is a good thing, not something that we should be concerned with or shy away from. Now, the thing in tech that you have to be really sensitive to, and it's unfortunate this is the case, but I think because you see a couple of dynamics coming into play. Men tend to be very socially awkward in tech. And so when you have women that come into those environments, it can be seen as, well, is there a romantic interest versus a professional interest? And so it's really important that you understand what the motivations and what the interests, and understand who that advocate is and what motivates them as you start to seek those folks out. But those are great people that can help empower you and help create that even keel.
No, I agree with most of what you said. I think the part of what you said around how when women entering like an event or something along those lines that is mostly men, because it will be in tech, guys. The big thing is that I just want to enter that room and I want to hang out with my friends and I want to network. I have my goals for the event down, and what I wear is my business. That's it. No one else's. So I'm not going to get dressed for anyone. I'm going to get dressed for me. It will be appropriate. And that's the bottom line. Like I'm not going to buy your, women need to be aware of, in an event setting, all these motivations. No, we're just trying to get a job done.
You are, but I think it's important that you think about the different perspectives that come into the table. And unfortunately, not everybody is going to be looking for that even keel from the other perspective, right, from the male counterpart. And unfortunately, I think I see this more in technology organizations more than other organizations, but unfortunately, it's a reality of where we are today. I think it's maybe a better way to put it. It's just something to be aware of.
And Tim and I will be continuing this debate on Twitter because Wendy is standing over there with the mic, smiling at us very kindly.